Montezuma. This man was a great leader in the literal sense of the term. Let's not discuss all his achievements. Let's just remember that thanks to Montezuma, all the sweet tooths of the world can enjoy such an extraordinary taste of chocolate today. It turns out that the great leader resorted to one small but very unusual trick. He forced his tribe to have sex right on the plantations where cocoa was grown. According to Montezuma, such a fertilizer for plants is the most effective.
Another well-known leader, Napoleon, had a passion for unusual smells. To be more precise, to the fragrance of the female body. A few weeks before returning home from regular military campaigns, he sent letters to his beloved Josephine, asking her not to wash in order to fully taste the smell of her body.
Donald Trump was spanked by a magazine with his own photo on the cover. This is how Stormy Daniels, a 39-year-old blonde, remembers her acquaintance with him. The porn star recalls that when she first met Trump in 2006, the billionaire took it upon himself to brag to her about a magazine with his photo on the cover, and he was punished for it. "I said someone should take this magazine and spank you with it," the actress said with a laugh, adding that she would never forget the expression on Trump's face. "I just don't think anyone has ever talked to him like that, especially a young woman like me." And I said, "Give it to me," and I remember him saying, "You won't do that. Give it here," and he did it, and I did it to him. "Turn around. Pull down your pants." Daniels continues to share memories. He turned around and pulled down his pants a little bit, he was wearing underwear, and I slapped him several times, she noted. According to Stormy, after that, Donald became a completely different person. He said, "Wow, you're special. You remind me of my daughter. You're a smart and beautiful woman to be reckoned with, and I like you. I like you." Trump melted. Daniels asked Trump about his wife Melania and son Barron, who was only a few months old at the time. He waved it off, said, "Oh yeah, don't worry about it. We even have separate rooms and stuff like that," Donald assured her. "In general, I repeated all that standard nonsense that all married men tell their mistresses," says the porn actress. Recall that Stephanie Clifford confirmed on a lie detector that she had an intimate relationship with Donald Trump in 2006, and Clifford was tested on a lie detector at the request of In Touch magazine, whose staff interviewed her in 2011. The specialist who conducted the test later confirmed its authenticity during an interrogation at the prosecutor's office.
A romantic genius who glorifies high feelings and endless admiration for them in his works, Lord Byron, in real life was not such a pure romantic. The poet's sexual relations were, to put it mildly, numerous and disorderly. One of his favorite sexual pleasures was dressing up another lover in a man's outfit and then having sex with her.
Another famous genius of the pen, Victor Hugo, who gained worldwide fame thanks to the Notre Dame Cathedral, did not lag behind Lord Byron in his insatiable sexual appetite. However, Hugo went crazy, not from dressing up, but from intrigues and all sorts of secrets. In order to satisfy his desires, he specially led numerous love girlfriends through various back passages and had sex in secret, uninhabited rooms, shrouding all his actions in an atmosphere of mystery.
Marilyn Monroe. Many novels with famous personalities have been attributed to this legendary beauty, and most of them actually took place. Probably Miss Monroe had many unusual sexual quirks with which she turned men on so much, but unfortunately we do not know anything about them, except perhaps one thing: Marilyn Monroe did not like underwear and never wore it. Once she even suggested John F. Kennedy to make sure of it. Everything would be fine, but she only did it in public, at one of the serious banquets.
But the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, would hardly have liked Marilyn Monroe, since he preferred very thin women with small breasts. He also adored erotic dreams, which, it is worth noting, he dreamed quite often. And in order to help his dreams come true and enjoy an intimate action with his own participation, as if from the outside, Elvis made the ceiling of his bedroom mirrored. But that's not all. The ceiling was with a secret, and Presley could see not only himself, but also those who indulge in sexual pleasures on the floor above.
It's easy to be a poor person, but is it easy to be chaste too? Gandhi, one might say, had a tragedy in his life at the moment when he was having sex with his wife. His father was dying in the next room. And so it happened, or rather, it developed in Gandhi's head, that the spirit of his father flew away at the very moment of his, Gandhi's, orgasm. After that, the main ideologue of the Indian independence movement decided to observe austerity. That is, literally, to live in poverty, not to spoil your karma with bad thoughts, and not to have sex. Generally, the Mahatma practiced his vow of celibacy in the most unusual way, as you know. He had many followers and female followers who would gladly offer him their bodies. Gandhi used a set of exercises to avoid sexual arousal when looking at a naked dancing woman. In fact, he organized one of the largest strip clubs in the world for his training. The only thing that excuses him is that everything happened absolutely for free. He and his followers, who practiced sexual passivity, did not pay a penny for it.
James Joyce, the greatest writer in Ireland and the surrounding area, a pioneer of modernist literature, the creator of such masterpieces as Portrait of an Artist in His Youth, The Dubliners, and, of course, not all mastered, but no less significant, Ulysses, was very fond of non-traditional sex. Not in the sense of with individuals of their own sex, but sorry for not being literary with loud farting. While away, he liked to write long and frank letters to his wife Nora. If it weren't for them, humanity would never have known that the classic of literature loved this very hole to fuck hard between fat thighs and powerfully emit intestinal gases in the face. I'm sorry again. Next time you write an essay based on Joyce's works, don't giggle out loud.
Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the greatest French writer, philosopher, and thinker of the 18th century, and, what can I say, for all time. At least read his reasoning if you shirked it in educational institutions. After that, refer to his autobiography. I must say, it is extremely entertaining. From it, for example, we learn that in order to achieve sexual arousal, the great Frenchman had to be spanked, or even better, flogged. The one who loves punishes well, writes the inventor of direct democracy. And he also admits that this strange feature was laid down by his own governess, who in childhood spanked a child for any offense.
Benjamin Franklin, a politician, diplomat, statesman, scientist, and inventor, forever imprinted on a $100 bill, had fun with elderly young ladies? No, really old. He chose a woman 20 to 30 or even 40 years older than himself as his mistress. Why did he choose old ladies as mistresses, even though he was a zealous defender of the institution of marriage? Because, as he wrote in a letter to a friend, they have more experience, they are more reasonable and restrained, they keep a secret better, and do not arouse suspicion of adultery. As for what's below the belt, you'll never know a young woman from an old one. Which means that it didn't matter to him who to sleep with, but he still gave preference to those who have experience in cooking skills.
Albert Einstein, admittedly, the most harmless one on this list. The greatest mind of the 20th century, of course, loved science and only science the most. Well, and after that, everything that moves and what the skirt is wearing. He was married twice, once to his cousin, and honestly cheated on both wives. Although I must say in his defense, he presented his first wife with a list of rules in which there was a clause that she should not expect neither intimacy nor fidelity from him. Before marrying his cousin Elsa, he almost tied the knot with her 22-year-old daughter. In general, he seduced almost all of his female relatives. After that, he began to work on his secretary, then the housekeeper, then. Well, you understand, the scientist tried to prove his theory of relativity in the most banal way. How many women will he be able to seduce in relation to eternity?
Caligula, the third of the Julian dynasty, Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, also known by the nickname Caligula. It is said that the decline of the great Roman Empire began with him. Although, of course, he did not register as Nero, he, as is known, burned Rome and committed adultery with his own mother, or rather, she with him. Caligula managed to turn the imperial palace into a brothel during his short but very cheerful reign. Naturally, all comers were served there by the wives and daughters of senators. The money went to the treasury. Is it good or bad? Definitely fun. Against this background, the fact that he slept with his own sisters somehow pales and becomes uninteresting. And also often during feasts, to retire with any girl or woman he liked, who, as a rule, was the wife or daughter of someone invited. Then, returning to the guests, he did not hesitate to discuss her charms and skills in sex. However, listening to all these historical opuses, it must be borne in mind that the life story of Caligula, which has come down to us, was written just by those who did not particularly sympathize with him, and therefore can hardly be considered a model of objectivity.
Marquis de Sade. The crown of this list is certainly Donatien Alphonse François de Sade, a French aristocrat, writer and philosopher who became famous for being a preacher of absolute freedom, not limited by morality, religion, or law, but only by satisfying the aspirations of the individual. At the time when the Marquis wrote his works, morals were not strict, however. He wrote about such things that even his contemporaries, who had seen a lot of things, made their hair stand on end, for which, in fact, he was imprisoned. However, immediately after he came out of the gloomy dungeons, he organized a pervert's paradise in his castle, settling sexual slaves of both sexes there for his pleasure. A real sex castle, an idiot's dream. Having spent a total of 32 years in prisons and mental hospitals, the Marquis de Sade gave the world the term sadism and explained that you can give yourself pleasure by whipping someone with a whip